Hello everyone and welcome to DB Designs and Sewing Australia. I'm Deb and today, in light of Sew Autumn Denim 2024, I'm going to go through the process of making the Quebec Skirt by Itch to Stitch. Now, I have previously made a Quebec Skirt and this is it here, and it is a stretch denim skirt. It's a pull-on skirt with a faux fly, a coin pocket. These are actually functioning pockets. So you can see they're pockets with pocket bags and patch pockets on the back. You can do fancy top stitching on them. I actually quite like this pattern for this top stitching, so I might make a template for it. So breaking it up into parts is going to be easier for you to follow along if you want to follow along. Now, somebody already wrote to me and said, I can't find the Quebec Skirt pattern. It is Q-U-E-B-E-C. Doesn't begin with C, it begins with Q. So that would be one of the reasons why you can't find the pattern. The pattern is a few years old. It says copyright 2022 on it. So the first thing we're going to go through is the features of the skirt. I will keep looking down because I've got notes. And so it's got 5 real pockets. That's the 2 front pockets that are real pockets, a coin pocket and 2 back patch pockets. And it's also got a split in the back so that you can walk easily, and it has got elastic in the waist. So it is a 2-inch elastic, so a fairly wide elastic, and it's got faux flat felled seams. So in other words, it's got seams that are top stitched throughout. And as you can see, they're just overlocked and then pressed to one side and top stitched down. So that's what's meant by a faux flat felled seam, because the other way is to stitch it on the outside, trim one edge, roll the other edge in, and then sew it down. That's the other way of doing a true flat felled seam. I'm not sure that many people do that anymore. It is a much more lengthy process. It's designed for bottom weight stretch woven fabrics. So I have got some stretch denim that I bought from Spotlight in Australia. And if you look on their website, it's actually called coloured denim. And in the heading of the fabric, it doesn't tell you that it's stretch. Bad move, Spotlight, because you need to say stretch coloured denim. And I bought a black, but I think there is a blue, and there is quite a nice bright pink, and there is also a green. I would have gone for the green, but I have got stretch green denim to make some more ginger jeans. So if you're looking on the Spotlight website, and it is all on sale at the moment, it is just called coloured denim, and when you click into it, you'll see that it's got an amount of spandex in it, and it does have enough stretch in it for this skirt. Now, the next thing you need to do is think about your body measurements to make the correct size. Itch to Stitch have a really large size range. They go from a 00 to a 40, and that's in the hip. So in this skirt, we're only worried about the hip measurement. The waist has elastic, and depending on your waist measurement is how tight you're going to have to make that elastic. So I had originally said the other day that I did a size 14. And I thought, this pattern piece looks really big. And when I measured the skirt, it measured between an 8 and a 10. So I might have made the size 14, and my pattern was certainly cut out to a size 14. And when I measured my hips were 99 centimetres. and the body measurement for the size 14 is 112 centimeters. So you can see from here that I actually needed to cut out probably a size 8, which seems a bit small. But as I was able to take it in a lot last time, because I obviously took it in from a 14 back down to at least a 10, I decided that I would cut the size 10. Now what you've got to remember is they're thinking this skirt's going to be really, really tight, because they're saying for a size 10, which is 105 centimeter hip, the finished hip size is 101. So they've got negative ease in it. Now, in jeans and in stretch denim and other woven stretch fabric, I would not put as much negative ease as you would put in with, say, a normal jersey dress or a jersey skirt. So I didn't want to make the skirt too tight, so I thought I'd start with a size 10. So it's really all about your hip measurement. In the instructions, it's a turnover waist. So in the instructions, you can see that it is slightly shaped. Here, this is part of the back yoke. So this is part of the back yoke. It's just going to fold over. So you can see it's all about the hip. So what really matters is the hip measurement, because the waist measurement's defined by the elastic. So it says that your denim needs to be 20 to 30% stretch. Not always that easy to find, but this fabric I have has got 25% stretch in it. So if you're looking around and you're going to Spotlight, you will see this fabric and it's got 25% stretch. So it is ideal for this skirt. And the lining for the front pockets is just a woven non-stretch lining. And by lining for the front pockets, it is the front pocket facing. Now I've just used some Chloe chambray that was left over. The only thing you've got to do when you're piecing together fabrics for leftover makes is make sure you've got either the two right sides facing or the two wrong sides facing, or you'll end up with pocket facings for just one side and two of them. So in this skirt, I used some, I think this was like a cotton rayon that I'd bought in Bali. So I just used leftover scraps of fabric. Good way to use up your scraps. So all the rest of it is made out of the denim. Now the other things you'll need is top stitching thread. And I showed you the other day my top stitching thread, and I've got like a charcoal grey top stitching thread, which is very, very similar to the colour of the denim. And 5 centimetre wide elastic, which is 2-inch wide elastic. And you take that measurement on your waist. So measure the elastic on your waist when it comes time to do it. Now the other thing you need is what they call fusible stay tape. Now I have this fusible stay tape. And so fusible on one side, and it's going to go around the edges of your pockets to stabilize them. Now, if you don't have any stay tape, you can just cut up strips of normal iron-on interfacing and use that. So you don't have to have the stay tape. And I think I bought this stay tape and a few other types. The one with the sewing thread running through it, I've also got. And I think I bought those years ago from Tazudi because it actually lasts quite a long time. And you need a 5 by 5 centimetre piece of cotton fabric to join your elastic. Now that's what this is. So this is 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. And this is how you join elastic without overlapping your elastic and making it bulky. So I'll take you through how to do that. I use that for a lot of things. So it's a way of joining your elastic together without any bulk. Now to measure the stretch in the denim, I find this is the easiest way. Now I have actually taped my tape measure to my sewing table, and in between these two strips of tape here is 10 centimetres. So we're basing it on 10 centimetres. And so if it was going to be 25% stretch, then we'd need it to stretch to 12.5. So we need it to be another 2.5 centimetres for 25% stretch. So now I'm getting my fabric and I'm holding it. Actually, I'll do it this way. Holding it here on the tape and holding it here on the tape. So that's my 10 centimetres. And it actually stretches three more centimetres. So this has got 30% stretch, but comfortably 25% stretch. That is really stretching it. Although, as you can tell, it actually has a great recovery. So this is the fabric, and I've got all my pattern pieces laid out. Now that I realise that you have not seen me cutting it out because for some reason I seriously must not have pressed the red button, or it turned itself off, one or the other. All I've got left to cut is the coin pocket, and you're only cutting one coin pocket. So when you're cutting things like coin pockets or things you're only cutting one of, what you need to do is take care about whether you're having your fabric folded when you cut out right sides together or wrong sides together. I have mine cut out wrong sides together, and I know that this coin pocket is going to go on my right hip. So the long part's correct, this rounded section, so I know this is going in the correct direction. Now, if I'd folded my fabric wrong sides together, then I would have needed to flip this pattern piece over to cut this out. And I am releasing it from the other layer because we are only cutting out one of these coin pockets. I mean, if you want to cut out two and you've got plenty of fabric to do it, that's no big deal. But just to cut out the one, now you'll notice that I'm actually cutting out with shears and not with a rotary cutter that I would usually use. And the reason is I do not cut out denim or really heavy fabrics with a rotary cutter. Corduroy, like when I made the purple cords, do not want to cut that out with a rotary cutter. It's just way too hard to get through, and then you have to keep on running over it. It is actually easier to use scissors. And I have got this much denim left. I could probably get a skirt out of that, and even if I put a little coloured frill on the bottom of it. So hopefully I can use up all that fabric. So now I'm going to put all my markings on my pattern pieces. And I use several different types of chalk. Now, when I'm drawing a long line, that's not going to need to iron off, or you're not going to have to make it disappear, I will use this type of chalk. When I have got a marking that is like a round spot or a dot or something that is okay for it to be permanently on, I will be using this type of chalk. Now, this is a present that I got from Kristen, and this actually comes with many colours. I often use the red or the blue in it. And this chalk, which I got from goodness only knows where, eBay or somewhere like that, this irons off. So if I'm doing a mark that I know I'm going to need to be able to iron off, or just say on these pockets, I was drawing the stitch lines, I would use this. And for my front fly, when it comes time to mark where I'm going to stitch it, run my pencil along a template, because this is black, it's going to make it really, really hard to see. So I've just scribbled on there like that, so I will be able to see it. And then I can just iron that off. That just irons straight off. Always a good idea to test anything you are marking with whatever pencil, especially if you need it to come off. So there are not very many markings on this pattern. And I have notched out my pattern pieces, and by notched out I mean that's a marking there. I'll show you what notches are. Now, pattern notches are these, and this is something you use when you're making your own patterns and then you're making them out of card. So clips really well for paper, and it clips really well for cardboard. So that's something I use when I'm notching my patterns. Just makes it really easy to see. I can see which ones I've notched, which ones I've got to do anything else to. Of course, these bottom two here, make sure that's it. There's two markings here, but that's to mark the hem. So I just measured them 3 centimetres. And so from the bottom of my new hem, because I put 15 centimetres on it, I remarked those down here before I cut it out. The pockets have only got 2 markings on them. We need to bring that in closer, which is the top fold over lines. So depending what sort of a pattern I'm going to do, I can see that from last time, I made, it's not even stuck to it, a tiny template so that I could create the pocket top stitching. I might just pin that to the pocket so I don't lose it. Yeah, and so I can draw that on later, or I can decide on a different one. It's whatever you want to do with your pockets. Some people don't want any top stitching on their pockets. I think these are the ginger jeans I've got on now, and I would think, I'll just show you my bum for a minute. They have got no top stitching on it. So I actually I didn't put any top stitching on this one. Okay, I can see a piece of pattern that is not notched. So to use a pattern notcher, putting it in under here, and you can see it takes the piece out. Now, it's not an essential tool. It's only an essential tool if you're making patterns and making them in card, because it's very difficult to put your notches in into card just with scissors. And in fact, when you do pattern making, we have a lot of different sort of scissors and tools that you use, and you use an awl quite often, much more than you do just in regular sewing. This is the back yoke. This is the coin pocket. And remember that single layer. And I really do try not to put fold my pattern pieces up and put them all away until I have used that pattern piece cut out in the fabric. Because you know what? As soon as you pack it all away and fold it all up beautifully, what will happen? You'll think, oh, I wonder if that marking's right, or I don't seem to have a marking. I wonder if there was one on the pattern. That's what will happen, and you'll have to get it out. So I usually just leave them thrown all over my table until such time as we need them. And this once again has got no notches done in it. All of our pieces are cut out, and so what you need to remember now is that with this whole pattern, all of the seam allowances are 1/2 inch or 1.25 centimetres. And the hems are 1 1/4 inch or 3.2 centimetres. I'm sure it will probably tell you again when you go to do the hems what the hems are. Now, the first thing the instructions want you to do is on the front piece, as you can see, we've got, this is cut out. So right and left side, it's cut out. And on the right front, they want you to trim away the fly area. So you need to make sure you're trimming away the correct area. And what they mean by this, I will show you the instructions. See here, they want you to trim away the fly, but just on the right. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure which is the right and which is the left. So the best way to do that, I can already tell by looking at it, but sometimes it can be very confusing sometimes. So we're looking at the front of the skirt. This is the 2 flies in the front. This is where the pocket goes, even though it looks like a crutch. It's not a crutch. This is the side pockets. So we know this is the front and this is the right front. So if I was wearing it, would be like this. This is the right, that will be my pocket. This is the right front. This is the fly we have to cut off. So the best way to do that is to rule a line. Don't just, now even me, somebody that takes lots of shortcuts, rules a line. Is rule a line. I'll show you how sharp you can get that in this chalk, but I cannot find my chalk sharpener. There's a special blade that you can run it along to make it really, really crisp on the edge. And so now I have marked this. I'm just going to cut this off. So for a beginner sewer, probably one of the scariest bits. But remember, lots of flies are made where the fronts are cut straight like this in the first place, and these are extensions. Now, if it's not a really heavy fabric, like no, not these ones, I folded over. But some of my lander pants, if they're in a thin fabric, I actually prefer the stitch-on fly method because I like that tiny bit of extra bulk it gives it there, for want of a better word. So now, here's my fronts, one with a fly extension, one without a fly extension. And on the back, we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to, on the right back, as worn, trim away the centre bottom pleat area at the line labelled cut here for right side. You are only trimming one back, the right one as worn, not the left one. So let's have a look and see what our pattern piece says. So on this pattern piece, you can see that it says one's for the left, one's for the right. So the first thing we've got to do is decide which is the right and which is the left. So it's the right as we're wearing it. So if that's the centre back, and we just popped 2 pins in it like that, and then I went, so this is the outside. It's a bit silly, you can't see. So then if I said, that's how it's going to be. This is the right back. So I know that's the one I've got to cut off. So I've just marked it so I know and I don't lose my place. Now I am just deciding, and what I'm really doing is saying, how far is that? That's 2 centimetres. That's 2 centimetres. So I will mark 2 centimetres, and I will mark 2 centimetres at the bottom, remembering this is a much longer split than what they've got in the pattern because I extended the length, and if I don't like the extended length, I'll just cut it off. But I was thinking a longer skirt might be nice, but I'm not sure how the longer skirt's going to go in the stretch denim because my Tommy skirt by Sewalong is quite a long skirt, and I don't think that has to be in a stretch denim. Well, the denim I got, which was from Super Cheap, and I love the colour of it, it's that bright green one, that really has very little stretch. It would have less than 10% stretch in it. So that fabric would not be suitable for this skirt. So as you can see, the right hand side is trimmed off. And that's where we're up to for today. The next thing we're going to be doing is applying the stay tape. The stay tape which was here. Now, I'm not sure if you can get that at all other places, but you can just make your own. I've made my own plenty of times, especially when they've said you need a stay tape strip that's whatever amount wide and this isn't really wide enough. I've just made my own just out of interfacing. So that's another option you can do. If you're sewing along, I hope you've been able to keep up. All I've done is, well, I cut out the whole thing and I didn't know that the camera was either not on or it turned itself off, one or the other. I hate to think that I was so stupid that I didn't turn the camera on. And so we know what size we were making. It was making a 10, which may be a little bit big, but that's okay, because when I'm thinking about this skirt, now this measures slightly less than a 10, but not as small as the 8. So that's why I decided to go with the 10. And when I cut this out, I cut out a 14, but it doesn't look weird. So it doesn't look like I may have placed the pockets after I decided whether or not it fitted. Maybe not, because it is a skirt where you sew the front, sew the back, and sew the back to the front. Because sewing the back to the front is the last bits that you do. Then you do this lovely little stitching down here. Now, I don't ever usually back stitch with top stitching, especially on denim, but this is one spot where you do it, and if you look at your ready-to-wear jeans, you'll see that that is back stitched as well, but you still pull it through to the other side and tie it off in knots. The one thing you want to do is make sure you don't waste top stitching thread. You don't get very much on the reel. Probably costs the same amount as your normal Gutermann polyester thread, but you get such little on the reel compared to the rest. I'll have a look. Normal Gutermann thread, which is your polyester, 100 meters. Top stitching thread for jeans, 30 meters. A big difference. So remembering, that's going to cost you 3 times as much. That the reels of cotton will cost the same, whatever it is, $5, $6. Although I do like it when Spotlight have the buy 2 get 1 free. And Lincraft at the moment have got 40% off everything, and I think that includes their Gutermann thread. But so it's really, really important not to pull your work out from under the machine and have huge long tails. I just pull it out to where I know I've got enough to tie the knot at the back, and then when I go to sew again with the top stitching, I hold on to the tails so that it doesn't get chewed up and made into spaghetti underneath it, and that I'm not going to have to pull it out. Because if you pull out top stitching thread, some of the time you need to cut it off. You can't use it again. It's a bit, because it's thicker, it sort of gets a bit chewed up and a bit squashed. So yeah, one thing to remember, top stitching thread is not cheap. Now, if you've got, say, a whole lot of threads of the colour that you want to use, and you want to use up some of your thread, you can do 2 threads going through 1 needle. So you've got 2 thread reels set up on your sewing machine. You've threaded it with both threads, put them both through the needle, and that gives you a thicker thread. So more like a top stitching thread. Used to be called jeans top stitching thread. They're all called something different now, but I do notice they've still got the colour I had. Now the reel I've got, I have got a 100 metre reel of the top stitching thread that I'm using, but I've used it before. Can't remember what for. I think I repaired something for someone once and I wanted a really heavy thread, so I used that. But remembering those bigger reels are going to cost a lot more money. So just to be aware, don't waste it. Don't use it for other things that you're going to be pulling out later. Don't waste really expensive thread. So that's enough of me crapping on today. And I will be back soon with the next stage, which is going to be stay tape. And we will start to sew. I think what's up first is the pockets. If I have my pages in the right order, it would help. We're going to make the coin pockets and the front pockets. So let me know if you can't follow along. I hope I haven't made you seasick. Some of the time I had the camera off the stand. That didn't really work out for me. I hope you understand how to measure stretch in fabric. It's really important for a skirt like this that it has got, I think it said 20 to 30%. I can actually stretch this fabric to 30%, but comfortably it's 25%. And that is available at Spotlight. And remember, it's just called coloured denim. And it doesn't say on its heading that it's stretch. And it should, because I don't click into ones unless they say they're stretch. But what you're looking for is a percentage of elastane in it. So even denims that you like the look of and you think it doesn't say it's stretch, so it's probably not, click into it and see what it's made up of. And if it's got elastane in it, it will have a certain amount of stretch. Now, what they don't tell you is what percentage of stretch they've got. Now, if you're looking at a small fabric company or an online only fabric company, they will probably tell you. If you emailed them, someone like Kristen, someone like Gabrielle, and plenty of the other small places, if you said to them, what is the stretch of this fabric, I'm sure they would measure it for you and let you know. So you've always got those sort of places you can buy it from. But I have noticed that maybe because it's not wintry enough yet here in Australia, although today is just horrendous. We had no power for nearly 8 hours from 6 o'clock last night. I saw that it came on at, I don't know, 5 to 2 this morning. So, yeah, so lightning and thunder at exactly the same time, and everything just went bang, and I could hear kids screaming. So then we had no power, thinking it'll come back on, always comes back on within 40 minutes. No, we went to bed at 7:49. So, no TV, no internet, no sewing. Lucky I'd done the ironing for the week for Neil's work uniforms. Yeah, so that was my disaster. And no, it was still actually light at 6 o'clock last night. So I sat in my sewing room with the curtains all open, writing out some stuff. But after a while, I thought I'll just go blind if I stay in here. So I thought I might as well go to bed. Don't forget hashtag WHIP Sew Autumn Denim 2024. And I hope you're all going to be joining me. I hope you're all going to be making something in denim. Doesn't really matter what time of year it is. It's autumn here in Australia and it's very quickly turning wintry, I must say. I should tell you what I'm wearing. I am wearing an all-in easy fit shirt. In some shirting I got from either Spotlight or Tazuti, I can't remember which, and my ginger jeans, of course, because they're the right thickness of jeans to wear in this weather, and they're very comfortable. So I will come back to you with part 2, and I'd really like you to let me know what you think. Can you understand what I'm saying? I usually teach face-to-face, and so then I can walk around and go, remember, we've got to be doing this, and have you measured all of your pattern pieces from the straight grain and all that sort of thing. And so that just comes to me when I'm seeing it, but doing it on the internet is very, very different. So everyone have a great time. Happy denim sewing. I'll see you all soon. Bye.